Well, hey there team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to my review in progress of Helldivers 2. But honestly, we might as well just call it a review. My verdict is probably not going to change, even if I play it for a dozen more hours over the weekend, which I will, absolutely. I'm looking forward to just grinding this for ages. So maybe I'll do a follow-up video in a few weeks. But as far as like getting out a sort of rendered verdict ahead of the weekend, because people might be curious about picking this up, yeah, it's a review. Safe to say, I think this game's brilliant. It builds upon the first game in every way, and it's still very tongue-in-cheek homage to the Starship Troopers. It is a Starship Troopers game in everything but name. I'll go into, what makes it tick and all the good stuff, but let's get some of the negatives out of the way. The game is getting bashed with mixed reviews on Steam, and it's not entirely unwarranted, which is to say, the game's having some huge performance issues. Now, personally, I've had nothing. It is an absolute beautiful, gorgeous game. I couldn't believe this. If you told me back when I was playing Helldivers 1 that you would get this third-person shooter version of Helldivers 2 that is a perfect sequel in every way and it looks this good, I wouldn't believe it. But not to gush, the performance issues are very real, and anecdotally, I know some people in my orbit that have had them as well, and they've had to refund the game or try and troubleshoot it, and this sucks. All right, that's really not cool. It's such a shame that the industry's going this way. This is a very high-profile game. It's got that PlayStation money behind it, and it's not PlayStation's fault specifically, but this sort of string of big-budget releases from these huge games that have humongous performance issues it's becoming so commonplace that it's becoming expected. You should be watching a review because you're curious about if it's a game for you before you buy it, not whether it's going to brick your system or not even work at all. But unfortunately, that seems to be quickly becoming like a main concern for people, and that really sucks. So look, as much as I love this game and I'm about to gush about it non-stop, buyer beware. You might just buy this game and for reasons you can't explain, it won't run, and I don't know what to tell you. As someone who didn't have those issues. Stand by to refund, or maybe just wait and see how the patching goes. I will also just quickly cover off, since we're doing negatives, it has had some network issues, though overnight a lot of them got fixed. The matchmaking seemed to be playing up, but it seems to be working quite well now, and I'm getting in with all sorts of randoms. However, I have had a couple of game drops from sessions, and this becomes a problem the more you play this game and the more invested you get, because the game ramps, right? The difficulty goes up, the missions get longer. And funnily enough, I found myself in this lobby with, kind of like 4 randoms, and people would just be dropping and then trying to find the game and rejoin it, and then I dropped at some point, and I think eventually all of us dropped, and so it ended the session. No rewards, no cash out or anything like that. But it's a kick in the teeth when you play a 30-minute run and you're having a really good time, and these randoms, you've got a bit of camaraderie going, and the game is just firing on all cylinders at its best, and then just to lose all your progress and just have the whole server collapse is kind of yuck. So yeah, it's got some pretty egregious day one problems, even though in the scheme of things, I haven't been affected that badly. I've only really had a couple of network drops and I haven't had any performance. So roll the dice if you dare. All right, I think I've been fair putting all that there. Let's get that out of the way. I love this game. It's leaning into its base theme even more than the previous one. The opening cutscene's quite funny, though I think it's part of a trailer that you might have seen. It's like join up and fight for liberty and that sort of thing. And even just through the training, getting screamed at by this general dude, you have to practice healing yourself because, as you do in a tutorial. And there's a machine, you literally press a button and it just jabs you in the neck with a metal rod to do damage. And then your dude's healing and he's screaming, "Not today!" Oh, it's just so machismo to the millionth degree, and I love every second of it. And when you respawn and drop in as a new trooper, you're like randomized, so you got chicks coming in, but they're bloody tearing out their lungs as well, just going for freedom. So good, man. But if for some reason you don't know what Helldivers is, this looks a lot different from the first game, but it essentially is the same game, or rather a successful successful sequel to it, right? So it's a 4-player co-op meat grinding simulator. You have high-powered weaponry and you are just made out of tissue paper. Everything pretty much one-taps you, including friendly fire and arguably especially friendly fire, depending on the degenerates that you play with. So you're gonna die, and it's chaos, but you're sort of trying to grab control of it, because there is in fact like a sweaty skill to getting through these missions, and you're taking out bug hives, and it's essentially the game you always wanted if you grew up watching Starship Troopers. All the meta progression is there, and it's actually fairly, not thin, but streamlined. You have a couple of currencies, sort of a battle pass thing. You can buy some of it if you really want one of the currencies. It seems to me that I'm earning the paid currency at a fairly reasonable rate. As reasonable as you could expect by something that's, got a grind in meta progression. Interestingly, you've got your own, spaceship run by the, Liberty Officer or something. Bringing democracy to the enemies of the Super Earth. God, it's so good, man. I cannot get over how good it is. But, you get to name your ship by presets like Bringer of Dawn or Fist of Judgment, right? And just everything about this game is just so based. And I naturally made my ship name something like the Protector of Family Values. So look, I don't want to go, I'll just put a little footnote here, and I won't go injecting things in that. But if you are part of the people that are upset with all the bloody agenda pushing narrative nonsense that you're getting in games, even though this is schlock, and it's hamming it up to the nth degree, it's still incredibly based, and it's a lot of fun, and it's worth putting your money behind and getting around. One thing I did notice is, as far as the loot, or whatever you want to call it, like the unlockables, all the airstrikes and weapons and that, absent are things like vehicles and particularly memey sort of elemental weapons and that sort of thing. And at first blush, a part of me was like, oh, that's a bit of a shame. But honestly, as much as I like the idea of everyone getting in a car and cruising around the first game, I didn't like the mech warrior things that can march around with a billion bullets and that. Honestly, the people that catered to were just, I don't know, I'll say it, solo sweats with no mates that just wanted to play the game and carry on their own. These games are at their most magical when it is co-op as anything, and I feel by taking those out and choosing not to do them and going down the loot tree, the most powerful weapons you can see are things like 2-man recoilless rifle things, where you've got a firer and a loader. Like, the way to get big value and big power out of this game is through the co-op experience, not cruising around on your own in a mech warrior. And I feel like that is a brilliant direction to take it. So there will be some that will look at that and see the depowering as, a step back or a rip-off or something. I don't think like these people, but I look at it and I see a streamlining with a heavier focus on the co-op aspect of the game. I have played a bit of it solo on my own, and I actually had a lot of fun, but there's no denying, even with random goobers throwing grenades and jumping around and causing troubles, this game is absolutely brilliant when you are stacked up with some other boys or boyettes. And so it seems to me that they're leaning harder into that co-op thing, which was actually probably my main concern when I saw this coming out. As beautiful and brilliant as it looked and got me hyped, I felt, well, if you're going to make it third person and let us sort of run around and we're not locked to the same screen, is it going to de-emphasize co-op, right? And honestly, it doesn't really hurt the game. If you run off on your own and the other 3 blokes are off doing missions, you're going to very quickly fuck around and find out and get deleted by a swarm of aliens that no one's going to help you with. So yeah, it's a great game. It's really solid, controls incredibly well, everything about it feels good, feels fair, in every way a successful successor to the first game, and I can't wait to stop recording this video so I can go just play a shitload more. But of course, sadly marred by these negative launch day issues, which the hope is are going to be resolved shortly. If these crashes and network issues persist over the whole launch week, this game's going to have a real problem. But they've already been patching it furiously, and like I said, I noticed that the matchmaking kind of went from not working to working quite well in one day. These are good tidings, one would hope. Anyway, there's no need to waffle. It's a great game. It's a based game. You should play it. You should play it for liberty and democracy and all this bullshit. This game just constantly screams at you. Alright team, might just leave it there for the time being, and I will catch you guys on the next one.